I'm Pamela Wright, 38. All my life, I believed family was the one place you could always trust. But one phone call in early October shook that belief to its core. My mom called, her voice trembling. "We can't afford Thanksgiving this year. Money's tight. We might even lose the house." A pang of guilt hit me. Thanksgiving in our Boston townhouse had always been a big deal. Turkey, pies, the works. I agreed to let it go, convinced they were truly struggling. But right after Thanksgiving, as I scrolled through Instagram, my mom's post flashed on the screen. A lavish party, live music, a gourmet buffet, a cocktail bar, all inside their house. My jaw dropped. My husband leaned over, squinting at the phone. Didn't they say no party? My stomach twisted. I had sent them $3,000 to cover rent. I opened Venmo, stared at the transaction, and hit refund, typing return to sender. My hands shook, anger tangled with relief. 15 minutes later, my dad's name lit up my screen again and again. Call after call. I let it ring. One question pounded in my head. What were they hiding? And why feel the need to stage such a cruel lie? How about you? Have you ever uncovered a secret in your own family that made you feel betrayed? Share your story in the comments. I really want to hear it. A week before that call, we were still talking about Thanksgiving plans. Every November, my family gathered in my parents' old Boston townhouse for a real Thanksgiving celebration. My mom and dad turned their dining room into a feast zone. Golden roasted turkey, creamy mashed potatoes with gravy, pumpkin pie fresh from the oven, my dad's famous cornbread stuffing, and green bean casserole I'd perfected over the years. We'd squeeze around their oak table, cousins and aunts swapping stories, kids sneaking extra pie, and someone always starting a board game that ended in laughter or arguments. My mom fussed over the table settings, insisting on cloth napkins, while my dad carved the turkey like it was a ceremony. I loved those days, the chaos, the warmth, the feeling of belonging. This year, I was ready to bring my casserole and maybe try a new cranberry sauce recipe. My husband Kevin was already joking about eating leftovers for a week, his way of saying he looked forward to it. Then my mom called. Her voice sounded heavy, not her usual upbeat self. "Pamela, we're in a tough spot," she said, pausing as if it hurt to admit. "We can't afford Thanksgiving this year. The rent's overdue, and we might lose the house." I froze, phone pressed to my ear. Their townhouse was their pride, a creaky old place they'd rented for decades, filled with memories, Thanksgiving dinners, birthday parties, even my high school graduation. I pictured them packing up, leaving it all behind. "How much do you need?" I asked, my chest tight. She hesitated, then said, $3,000 would cover it. I swallowed hard. That was a huge chunk of our savings, money Kevin and I had been setting aside for a new car. But this was family. I couldn't let them lose their home. I'm an office manager at a small law firm in Boston, pushing papers and juggling schedules. Kevin works as a software engineer. We do okay, but money's always tight. Mortgage payments, groceries, unexpected car repairs. Most of our budget is already spoken for. $3,000 wasn't pocket change. It was months of careful savings, skipping dinners out, passing on new clothes. That night, I sat Kevin down at our kitchen table, the laptop open to our bank account. "My parents need help," I said, explaining my mom's call. Kevin leaned back, rubbing his neck. "That's a lot, Pam," he said, his voice soft but worried. "Are you sure they need it?" I nodded, thinking of my mom's strained tone. They'd never asked before, I told him. It must be serious. Kevin sighed but agreed, trusting my judgment. I felt a mix of guilt and duty, guilt for dipping into our savings, duty to help the people who raised me. I opened our savings account, staring at the numbers. $3,000 was a gut punch, but I transferred it to my mom via Venmo, my fingers hesitating before hitting send. The app pinged, confirming the transaction. Minutes later, my mom texted, "Thank you, Pamela. This means everything. We'll use it for the rent." I exhaled, feeling like I'd done the right thing. Kevin squeezed my shoulder, but his eyes lingered on me, as if he sensed something I didn't. I brushed it off. Family comes first, I told myself. My parents had taught me that through every Thanksgiving, every scraped knee, every late-night talk. They were the ones who showed me how to carve a turkey, how to show up for the people you love. I trusted them completely. Believed every word of my mom's plea. Looking back, I should have asked more questions. Her voice had a rehearsed edge, like she'd practiced the call, but I didn't catch it then. I was too busy thinking I'd saved their home, kept our family's Thanksgiving spirit alive. That call felt like a crisis, but it was just the start of something much bigger, something that would unravel everything I thought I knew about my parents. Those weeks before Thanksgiving, I kept imagining a quiet holiday, just Kevin and me, maybe a small turkey breast, and a movie marathon. I didn't mind. If it meant my parents could keep their house, it was worth it. A few days later, I even called my mom to check in. Did the money help? I asked. It's a lifesaver, she said, her voice brighter now. We're sorting it out. I smiled, picturing them safe in their townhouse. I didn't know then that I'd been played, that my trust had become a tool they used before. All I could think about was family, doing right by the people who'd always been there for me. But that was before everything changed. Right after Thanksgiving, I was scrolling through Instagram when my thumb stopped cold. There was my mom's post, a photo of a packed dining room. String lights twinkled overhead, a live jazz band played in the corner, and a buffet table groaned under lobster tails, carved roast beef, and a cocktail bar with a bartender mixing drinks. The caption read, "Best Thanksgiving yet." I blinked, thinking I'd misread. This was their Boston townhouse. No question, the worn leather couch in the background, the abstract painting my dad hung years ago. My heart thudded. They'd said no party. Said they were broke. Said my $3,000 was for rent, to save their home. I clicked through the photos, each one a punch to the gut. My mom laughing with guests, glasses clinking, the table decked out with crystal and cloth napkins. A watermark in the corner read, "Boston Event Snaps," proof they'd hired a professional photographer. I shoved my phone at my husband, who was sprawled on the couch watching a game. "Look at this," I said, my voice sharp. He squinted at the screen, scrolling through the photos, his brow furrowing. "Didn't they say no party?" he asked, calm but pointed, like he was piecing together a puzzle I was too angry to see. I grabbed the phone back, fingers trembling as I opened the comments. Friends I didn't know gushed. "Amazing spread, and you outdid yourself." One comment caught my eye, my mom replying, "Worth every penny. Worth every penny. My penny. My $3,000. Heat rose to my face. Rage and embarrassment washed over me. I opened Instagram again, checking the post's date. Uploaded the day after Thanksgiving, but the photos screamed fresh guests in sweaters, a pumpkin centerpiece still intact. I tapped the story archive, hoping I was wrong. There it was, a clip of the band playing, time-stamped Thanksgiving evening. My stomach twisted. They'd thrown this party, the very day they were supposed to be scraping by. I remembered my mom's voice on that October call, shaky, desperate, begging for help. "We might lose the house," she'd said. I'd believed her, dipped into our savings, thought I was saving their home. Now here she was, posting about a lavish party like it was nothing. Kevin leaned over, his hand on my shoulder. "Pam, what's going on?" he asked, steady but concerned. I couldn't answer right away. My throat felt tight, like I'd swallowed glass. "They lied," I finally said, barely above a whisper. "They took my money and threw a party." Saying it out loud made it real, and the betrayal hit harder. I thought of every Thanksgiving we'd spent in that townhouse, the warmth of those nights, the trust I'd placed in my parents. I'd given up our car fund, skipped date nights, all because I thought they needed it, and they'd used it to show off. I scrolled through the photos again, zooming in on details, the bartender's sleek setup, the catered food, the band's equipment. This wasn't a potluck or a last-minute gathering. This was planned, expensive, deliberate. I checked my mom's followers, spotting names I recognized. Neighbors, old family friends, even my dad's coworker. They'd invited half of Boston. It seemed, while I was at home eating a quiet dinner with Kevin, thinking I'd done the right thing. I felt like a fool, like they'd counted on me being gullible enough to hand over the cash without questioning. My mind raced. Why would they lie? Why go through the trouble of asking me for money knowing I'd see this? Did they think I wouldn't check Instagram? Or did they just not care? Kevin watched me, waiting. "What are you going to do?" he asked, voice low, like he knew I was on the edge of something big. I didn't have an answer yet, but I knew I couldn't let this slide. I thought of my mom's text after I sent the money. This means everything. Yeah, it meant everything to her image, her party, her ego. I closed the app, hands still shaking. I wasn't just angry. I was done being their safety net. That night, I sat at the kitchen table staring at my phone. I opened Venmo, thumb hovering over the app like it was a loaded gun. There it was, the transaction from early October, $3,000 sent to my mom, Cynthia, labeled for rent. My chest tightened, thinking of her Instagram post, the jazz band, the lobster tails, the cocktail bar. She'd played me, used my money to throw a party, while I thought I was saving their home. I tapped the transaction, jaw clenched, and hit the refund request button. In the memo, I typed, "Return to sender." Each letter a jab at the betrayal. I pressed send, my heart pounding, fury tangled with a strange relief, as if I'd finally taken a stand. The app pinged, confirming the request. I leaned back, exhaling, feeling lighter for the first time all day. Almost instantly, my phone buzzed. A text from my mom popped up. "Pamela, what's this about? Why are you asking for the money back?" Her words dripped with panic, like she'd been caught red-handed. I stared at the message, fingers itching to reply, to unload every ounce of my anger. But I didn't. I set the phone down, letting her stew in her own mess. Kevin raised an eyebrow, his voice low. "You okay, Pam?" he asked, reaching for my hand. I nodded, though inside I was reeling. My mom's text wasn't an apology. It was a dodge, a desperate attempt to keep the lie going. I wasn't falling for it this time. Then my dad, Gary, called. His name flashed on my screen once, twice, 3 times in 10 minutes. I let it ring, each missed call a brick in the wall I was building between us. He left a voicemail, voice strained. "Pamela, call me back. We need to talk about this." I didn't listen to the rest. I knew that tone, my dad trying to smooth things over, like he always did when my mom stirred up trouble. But this wasn't a small fight over a forgotten call. They'd taken my money, thrown a party, and lied to my face. I wasn't picking up. Not tonight. Maybe not ever. I turned my phone face down. The silence in the room felt heavy but deliberate. Kevin leaned forward, eyes searching mine. "You don't have to answer them," he said, steady, like he knew I needed permission to hold my ground. I nodded, resolve hardening. "I'm done being their Ada." I said the word sharp but true. I'd spent years jumping when my parents called, thinking it was my job to keep the family together. But this was different. I started to wonder if my dad knew about the party all along. He was always at those Thanksgivings, carving the turkey, playing host. Had he helped plan it? Had he stood by while my mom spun her sob story about losing the house? The thought made my stomach churn, my trust in him crumbling like old plaster. I picked up my phone again, not to reply, but to check Venmo. The refund request was still pending. No response from my mom. I imagined her pacing their townhouse, trying to come up with an excuse. Another text came through. "Pamela, please, let's talk. You don't understand." I scoffed, tossing the phone onto the table. Understand? I understood perfectly. She'd used me, counted on my loyalty to get what she wanted. I thought of all the times I'd trusted her, believed her promises, sent money because she said it was urgent. How many of those were lies, too? Seeing her clearly for the first time hurt more than I expected. Kevin got up, grabbed 2 beers from the fridge, and slid one to me. "You did the right thing," he said, cracking his open. I took a sip, the cold liquid grounding me. "I just can't believe they'd do this," I said, voice low, almost breaking. After everything, Kevin didn't say much. He didn't need to. His quiet support reminded me I wasn't alone, but my mind kept circling back to my dad. He'd always been the softer one, the one who apologized for my mom's outbursts, who'd call to check in. If he knew about the party, if he let her lie to me, then my trust in him was gone, too. I wasn't ready to face that yet, but I knew I couldn't unsee it. I glanced at my phone, still buzzing with another call from my dad. I silenced it. My decision was firm. This wasn't just about $3,000. It was about respect, about not being taken for a fool. I'd given them my trust, my savings, my loyalty, and they'd thrown it back in my face with a catered buffet and a hired band. I wasn't going to let them guilt me into backing down. For the first time, I felt like I was drawing a line they couldn't cross again. The next morning, Gary showed up at our apartment in Boston. I opened the door to find my dad standing there, face lined with worry, his usual easy smile gone. He held a coffee cup, probably from the gas station down the street, and his coat was rumpled like he'd barely slept. "Pamela, can we talk?" he asked, voice low, almost pleading. I stepped aside, letting him in, though every part of me wanted to slam the door. Kevin stayed quiet in the kitchen, pouring cereal, giving us space. I crossed my arms, leaning against the counter, waiting for whatever excuse my dad thought could fix this. He sat on our couch, clutching the coffee cup like a lifeline. "I'm sorry about last night," he started, looking at the floor. "I saw your Venmo request, and I know you're upset." Upset didn't cover it. I was furious, betrayed, but I let him keep talking. "Your mom planned that Thanksgiving party months ago," he said, words slow, deliberate. "She used your $3,000 to pay off some debts, then spent what was left on the catering, the band, the whole thing." My breath caught. My mind reeled. Months ago, her October call, her shaky voice begging for help to save their house, had been a lie from the start. And my dad knew. "You knew?" I asked, my voice sharp, cutting through the room. He nodded, eyes still down. "I told her not to do it, Pamela, but she said it was for the family to keep up appearances." I felt like I'd been slapped. "Appearances," I repeated, my hands clenching. "You let her lie to me, take my money for appearances." My dad flinched, finally meeting my eyes. "We didn't want to lose face," he said, his voice cracking. "The neighbors are friends. They expect the big Thanksgiving at our place. It's tradition." Tradition. The word twisted in my chest, hollowing out memories of our family dinners. I thought of all the years I trusted him, believed he was the one keeping things steady while my mom pushed for extravagance. But he'd stood by, let her spin her story, let me empty my savings for a lie. I paced the small living room, trying to keep my voice steady. "That was our money," I said, pointing toward Kevin, who was watching from the kitchen, jaw tight. "We gave up our plans, our savings, because you said you were losing the house." My dad rubbed his face, looking older than I'd ever seen him. "I know we messed up," he said. "I should have stopped her. I'm sorry, Pamela." His apology felt too little, too late. If he was sorry, why hadn't he told me the truth before? Why let me find out through a stupid Instagram post? He wasn't just a bystander, he was part of it, complicit in my mom's scheme. "I'm done helping you," I said, my voice cold but firm. "You and Mom need to figure this out on your own." His eyes widened, like he hadn't expected me to push back so hard. "Pamela, don't do this," he said, standing up, his coffee cup shaking in his hand. "We're family. We can work it out." But his words felt empty, like a script he'd used before. I shook my head, resolve solid. "You don't get to decide that anymore," I told him. "You broke my trust." Kevin stepped closer, his presence grounding me, a silent reminder I wasn't alone. My dad tried one more time, softer now. "I'll talk to your mom, Pamela. We'll make this right." I didn't believe him. I'd heard his promises before, when my mom overspent on vacations, forgot birthdays, made everything about her. He'd always been the one to smooth things over, to keep the peace. But this time, it wasn't enough. I pointed to the door. "You should go," I said, throat tight, words clear. He hesitated, then nodded. Shoulders slumped. As he walked out, I felt a piece of my heart go with him, not because I wanted him to stay, but because I was mourning the dad I thought I had. A few days later, I met my Aunt Lori at a cafe in downtown Boston. The place buzzed with lunchtime chatter, But Lori's sharp eyes locked onto me as I slid into the booth. She'd always been the blunt one in the family, never shy about calling things as she saw them. She sipped her latte, silver bracelets clinking, and got straight to the point. "I heard about the Thanksgiving mess," she said, voice low but firm. "You're not the only one. Your mom's pulled this before." I leaned forward, coffee untouched, stomach tightening at the thought that this wasn't just about me. "She's been borrowing money for years," Lori continued, tone clipped, tired. "Not just from you, me, cousins, even old college friends. Always the same excuse. Some emergency, some bill she couldn't pay." My mind raced. My mom had done this before. Lori nodded, reading my expression. 2 years ago, she asked me for $5,000, said it was for medical bills. I gave it to her, no questions asked. Then I saw her post about a new designer purse and a weekend trip to Cape Cod. My jaw tightened. The memory of her Instagram post, lobster tails, a jazz band, flashed in my mind. Though I didn't mention it, I realized this was bigger than one party. She had a habit. Lori stirred her coffee with a spoon. She lies about money, makes you feel guilty, then spends it on whatever makes her look good. Fancy dinners, clothes, parties to impress the neighbors. A chill ran through me, puzzle pieces snapping into place. My mom's tearful October call, her shaky voice about losing the house. It wasn't a one-off. It was a pattern. I thought of all the times she'd asked for smaller amounts, claiming it was for groceries or car repairs. How many of those were lies, too? "Did she ever pay you back?" I asked, voice barely steady. Lori shook her head, bitter smile tugging at her lips. "Not a dime." I had to cut her off. She set her cup down, gaze softening but serious. "You need to hold your ground, Pamela," she said. "I didn't at first, and it cost me. Cynthia's good at making you feel like it's your job to keep her afloat." I nodded, throat tight. I'd felt that guilt my whole life. Every time my mom called, every time she hinted at needing help. Hearing Lori say it aloud made it real. I wasn't crazy for feeling used. "She did it to you too?" I asked, needing confirmation. Lori sighed, her fingers tracing the rim of her cup. "Oh yeah. She borrowed money for a family reunion once, then threw a gala for her book club instead." I was furious, but I let it slide. Don't make my mistake. I sat back, coffee growing cold. Knowing my mom had done this to others didn't make it hurt less, it made it worse. She wasn't careless with me. She was calculated, targeting anyone close enough to trust her. I thought of my dad, his weak apology at my apartment, claiming it was about keeping up appearances. Was he covering for her, or was he just as bad? Lori seemed to sense my thoughts. "Gary's not innocent," she said quietly. "He knows what she does. Enables it. He's too weak to stop her." That hit hard. My dad, the one who taught me to ride a bike, the one who'd always seemed like the good guy, was part of this too. Lori reached across the table, squeezing my hand. "You're doing the right thing, setting boundaries," she said. "It's not easy, but it's the only way to protect yourself." Her words sank in, solidifying my resolve. I'd spent so long believing family meant saying yes no matter what. But Lori's story, her own betrayal, her decision to cut my mom off, showed me I wasn't alone. This wasn't just my burden. My mom's lies had burned bridges with others, and I was just the latest in line. I thanked Lori, voice shaky but grateful. As we left the cafe, I felt a clarity I hadn't had in years, like I'd been given permission to stop carrying my mom's weight. This wasn't a one-time betrayal, it was who she was. A week later, Cynthia showed up at my doorstep unannounced. Snow dusted her coat, and her face was a mix of defiance and desperation. I let her in, stomach churning, bracing for whatever excuse she'd brought. The living room felt too small, the air thick with tension as she perched on the edge of my couch, clutching her purse. "Pamela, we need to fix this," she said, voice sharp but trembling, like she was trying to hold on to control. I stood by the kitchen counter, arms crossed, waiting for her to explain why she'd lied, why she'd used my money for a party. She leaned forward, eyes pleading. "The Thanksgiving party wasn't about showing off," she said, words rushed and practiced. It was about keeping our family tradition alive, bringing everyone together. I almost laughed, irony stinging. Tradition, the same tradition she'd claimed they couldn't afford. I shook my head, voice steady but cold. You told me you needed $3,000 to save the house, I said. Not to throw a party with a band and a bartender.